Welcome to the inaugural episode of AEPBN Spotlights, the official podcast of the AEPI Business Network. I'm your host, Rafi Caroline, and I'm thrilled to kick off what we hope will be a regular way to connect, inspire, and spotlight the incredible brothers who make up our growing business community. For those who don't know me yet, I now serve on the board of AEPBN, focusing on marketing and communications. Personally, I've built my career at the intersection of tech startups, real estate, and business strategy. But what's always stood out to me is the power of relationships. And that's exactly what this network and this podcast are all about. The AEPI Business Network exists to connect brothers across industries and generations, creating opportunities to collaborate, mentor, and grow. This podcast is a way to bring those stories to life, to highlight the vision, the people, and the business lessons behind the network. Over the coming episodes, I'll be sitting down with each of our board members, in addition to many other brothers, to discuss their careers and the effects the AEPBN network has had on them, both professionally and personally. And what better place to start than at the beginning? In the first episode, we'll shine the spotlight on the brother who founded and continues to lead AEPBN, the man, the myth, the legend, and the king of side hustles, Loren Nelson. Loren will share with us the idea for how the network was born and how it grew into the 17,000 member strong community that we all benefit from today and where we're headed next. So with that, welcome Loren.
Hi.
So this has been a long time coming. I'm glad we're doing this, and let's just start at the beginning. So tell me a little bit about your journey with AEPI and then how you got into starting the AEPI Business Network.
Yeah, I joined AEPI technically in the spring of 1997, but I dropped out and then came back a little while later. So joined AEPI the end of my freshman year. Actually, yeah, so I joined in the fall, dropped out, and then came back in the spring. And joined my freshman year. I had my best friend was an AEPI at Berkeley, which is how I had even heard of anything. And I went to a Hillel event. I went to Shabbat, and Dave Bluestein stood up and said, "I'm the president of AEPI, and we have Rush, and if anyone is interested, come talk to me." And that was kind of the beginning. When I came back the second time with a friend of mine and then spent some time with Greg Field that night, I was just kind of hooked. Greg and I have been friends now, really since that night. Throughout my time at AEPI, I was pledge master 3 times. I was the IFC president at UCSB for a year. I was, after graduation, an advisor to several chapters, including my own. I'm an assistant regional governor for a while. I'm kind of a lifer when it comes to AEPI in general. From day one, I've been really all in. And then a few years ago, I've always had this desire of alumni working together and feeding each other leads and using each other's services and products as a preference over, what's out there in the world. And I really felt like that didn't exist and wasn't available to, the majority of alumni. So I started the network, and, I kind of in the beginning thought that it was just going to be me and maybe a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 people. I would know a good chunk of them, and we would just kind of, help each other in business. As I got started, I would wake up and, 1,000 more people have joined, or 2,000 more people have joined, and it very quickly started spiraling. And the thing that I think is most interesting is that it still has a high level of engagement. Brothers are using the network to help themselves, to help other people, to mentor, and it's been a really great experience. And honestly, I've made a whole bunch of friends from the network that I never would have known if this didn't exist. A pretty high level of knowledge of alumni from my own chapter, but outside of a few that I knew, having been an advisor, my network in terms of AEPI nationally and of the broader alumni base was tiny compared to what it is now.
And we definitely benefited from COVID, right? I mean, that's when the group really took off and blew up. So everybody at home in front of their computer on social media, and that definitely was a big spark in where this network really launched into what it is today. I had a little bit of a different background, right? Like I was involved in undergrad, and honestly, AEPI was one of the best things in my undergrad because I got more out of joining AEPI than I did from my degree, if I'm being honest. And I just really wasn't that involved afterward. After I graduated, that was it. I was still great friends with a lot of the guys in my chapter, and I did business with them, and it was great, but I didn't really know people from other chapters. And then I moved out to California right kind of as this was getting big, and I loved what you were doing with the group, and then you launched that first summit, and I was like, hey, this is a great way for me to meet a lot of guys in Southern California, get to know you guys, and I mean, I've made some really amazing friends over the last few years, and done a lot of business with people from this group, so I couldn't be more grateful to you. It's why I'm sitting here with you right now, and I don't know, let's talk maybe a little bit. Do you have any highlights of brothers who have done business together that really stand out to you and the benefit of the network?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for that. And I will say, to your earlier point, yeah, COVID, I think, was a big help. But we'll also say that, one of the probably the most common thing I hear from people who reach out to me is that they've always wanted something like this. And that goes back to alumni who are in their 60s, all the way down to younger alumni who didn't know anything but this. And really my goal and what I really hope is that now that we're 5 years in, that people graduating from AEPI today don't know a world where this doesn't exist. Some of the highlights that have happened throughout the time that we've done this, number one, the summit, a year really to get that first one going, and it was really uncertain because it was the tail end of COVID, and I put my own finances on the line, hoping that enough people would come, and not just come, but agree that it was such a benefit to them that they would continue coming. And that first year was amazing. It was such an interesting feeling. I've been to so many conventions, and those things are great, and I love convention. In fact, I may go this year, at least for a short period of time. It's just different, and it is different to show up as an adult in some type of profession, whether it's working for a larger corporation or owning your own business. It is such a different feeling showing up to this thing than it is when you're an undergrad. And I can say that everybody there is focused on helping. Everybody wants to help themselves as well, and that's an important thing. But we put a large focus on making sure that everybody there is thinking about their network and how they can help people that are there who are looking for help. And that, to me, is the best part of it. But I've heard a lot of success stories. I know the Pollock brothers have done a tremendous amount of work with Aaron Moskowitz. I think they mentioned at the summit last year they've done $8 million in business with each other over a few year period.
And that's just two brothers.
That's just two brothers. Well, two actual brothers.
Yeah. Two actual brothers and another brother.
Yeah. I've heard from guys like Fred, who has a healthcare insurance practice that he's done a tremendous amount of work with brothers around the country who are looking to set up healthcare policies for their companies, and not just ones they own, but companies that they work for as well.
He did my insurance, so yeah, yep, absolutely.
There you go. I know that we have lots of brothers who have purchased mattresses. And
another winner, Jared Sennett.
That's right. I've purchased a mattress from him.
As have I.
Personally benefited from a brother who worked for Eden Memorial Park here in San Fernando Valley when my mother-in-law died, and we really needed someone to take care of us. I can't even count the number of times I have used our network to find AEPIs who are doing something that I need the service of anyway. Something from insurance to graphic design to everything in between. Even, as you know, Rafi, investment in multifamily properties. We have a incubator that invests in people's startups. And so just endless amounts of positivity from the group. People using each other's services and products, and some people that have been around from the beginning will remember that I was, slinging coffee for a long time. That was a business of mine when I started. It still is a business of mine, but and I have lots of side gigs, but even in my full-time job, I'm fully employed by an engineering company, and I've done a lot of business for my engineering company through the group. A lot of people in commercial property that have needed the services that we provide. So just endless numbers of positive interactions, and based on the numbers that I've heard from some people, millions and millions of dollars transacted among alumni.
Yeah, and we really do span a number of industries. I would say legal, real estate, startups, investing, those kind of things stand out a little bit more than others. But, man, we really do have a broad network of connections here that we can all take advantage of, and we do. So I want to step into a little bit more broad about the vision for where we're going in the future with this network, because up until now, this has been a one-man Loren show. And this year you decided to change things and make it a little bit different. And that's why we're sitting here today. So why don't we talk about this new structure and why you decided to go into this way?
Yeah, at a certain point, the network had just become so big, and what I believe to be necessary to alumni and future alumni. And, when you're just one person making all the decisions and trying to figure out the best way forward for everybody, as confident as I am in my own abilities, I think that it made sense to bring on people that were passionate about this group existing and what it can be and should be doing for alumni, and it made sense to bring some of those passionate voices into a board. For the future, we have ideas like more than just one summit every year, regional events, mentorship programs, different types of sponsorship, resume review, all types of things. And really what we want to hear from people is, what would they like to see? I envision a scenario where someone has graduated and they're moving to a city they're unfamiliar with, and the first thing that happens is they get connected with effectively a local representative who's willing to say, here's where you should live, and here are here's the best pizza place, and come to my house for Shabbat this week, and all those kind of things, almost like a welcoming committee to new alumni who are moving into new areas that they're unfamiliar with. I mean, having that kind of help, I think if you were to ask a lot of alumni who have been in that situation, they would have loved an experience like that. So, the idea going is providing as many services to alumni, beneficial services to alumni, that we can create and implement, and really hearing from different alumni about what things would be most helpful.
Absolutely. If you are going to move to Boca, we all know that David Ogman's the guy there. But it would be nice to have a real network of people. I really like that idea. Yeah, exactly. David who. So this new board structure, right? There are currently 8 of us on the board. It is you, fearless leader, and then we have Jeff Zissner, we have Jeff Clyde, Lance Grolick, Aaron Pratt, David Epstein, Brandon Goldman, myself. Yeah, I think that's
everybody.
Okay, cool. So we all have a variety of skill sets, and we all have a passion. We've all also been to most of us have been to all of the summits, and some of us have been to most of the summits. And that's really the distinguishing factor is that summit weekend, right? So I wanted to join this board because of the summit, and the summit has meant a lot to me over the last 4 years. Not only has it given me a community, again, like I said, I moved out to Southern California. I didn't really know many people out here. Not only has it given me a community of people here, but it's given me a community all over the country. I know I can move anywhere in the country and instantly have a community.
Yeah.
Aside from maybe, Wyoming, but I bet there's a brother there too.
Probably.
So we're kind of like Chabad. We're everywhere.
Yeah.
So let's go into I don't know. Tell me a little bit about the summit and why it's so valuable. I mean, I love it. You love it. We know that. But somebody who hasn't been before, and it's just like, okay, well, do I want to like really go to for a weekend to Vegas with like these guys? Like, what am I really going to get out of it? Like, help me explain to them what the value that they're getting in more than just a fun weekend in Vegas with some new friends.
And by the way, let's not discount that it is a really fun weekend.
It is a lot of fun,
right? If nothing else, you can have a great time for a weekend in Vegas. But the summit was created as a way for people to network in a way that virtual networking doesn't give you. And I know not everybody in the group spends a lot of time networking or attending conferences. I do. It's been a part of my professional job for 15 years. And to me, my personal feeling is nothing substitutes for in-person. And I think the perfect example of that are the relationships, the really solid relationships that have been developed as a result of the summit. I love to use Jeff Clyde and Bruce as a really good example of how this kind of just plays out on its own. The first year, somebody created a WhatsApp group. Jeff had arrived a little bit early, and Clyde, if I butcher the story, I apologize, but Clyde arrived early, and in the WhatsApp group, he said, "I'm here early. Does anyone want to go to lunch?" Bruce was there, and he responded, "I'll meet you. Where do we meet?" And they met for lunch, and they had lots of conversations throughout the weekend. And since that time, Clyde helped Bruce get his podcast company off the ground. They frequently talk on the phone and virtually. They help each other. They make recommendations. They make referrals. And from listening to Jeff talk about it and Bruce, they made a really, truly solid bond and friendship that I don't think would have happened if they were just both members of the same group. And I love to use that example because the relationship building that we do isn't just about, I'm in this business, you're in this business, let's refer some stuff to each other. Referrals like that, they work, people do some business here or there, but it's never as good as having, what you might consider a friend, even if it's just a work friend. And then secondly, every time we put a summit together, the idea behind the itinerary is to facilitate as much interaction as possible, not only between people who directly need each other's services. Lots of great recommendations and referrals come from a guy who knows a guy, right? If you're a mortgage broker, I might not be looking for a mortgage right now, but by the way, my neighbor just mentioned he was refinancing, and I could make that introduction for you. Some of my best success cases over the past 15 years have come directly as a result of Jason Feld just knowing to put me in connection with somebody else who happened to be in the industry. Not because it benefited him, it doesn't. None of the introductions he'd made for me benefit him from a financial perspective. It benefit him in the, sort of karmic sense. But it is him looking out for people he knows and remembering to involve them in that process. And so we try to do as much interaction as possible at these events to facilitate those interactions, get people to create solid relationships that they would not create otherwise, and in turn help their businesses, help their careers, help them thrive in whatever they do. And that's why this year, for example, we're not only having seminars about investing your money. I mean, we will do that, but we're going to have conversations about men's health, just health awareness in general. We're going to have conversations about getting ahead in your career if you're an employee and not a business owner. We've listened to the feedback, and we want to build out a program that benefits everybody that might attend. And then the last part of it too is we want to create an opportunity for people who want to volunteer for the national fraternity or get involved with things they might not otherwise get involved with. We want to create an opportunity for them to have those conversations as well. In the summit, like I said, you can sort of think of it like AEPI convention if you've been, but on steroids. It's convention in that everybody showing up has this baseline, we're all AEPI, and so that sort of awkwardness is removed. But an experience unlike anything you've probably had at any conference you've been to. I go to tons of conferences a year professionally. None of them are like the summit, and I get a lot of traction out of the summit.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love it. I'm going to keep coming back. And shout out to Bruce, by the way. He's helped mentor me a little bit. This is my first podcast that I've launched, and he's definitely been a great resource to me as well. And I've made some tremendous friendships at the summit. Brandon Goldman has become a really close friend of mine. We've done business together, but he's also just a personal friend. Jared Siegel, Matan Shmuel, Alex Getlin. I mean, these are guys who are just like, yeah, I'm happy to do business with them and whatever, but they're also they're just good friends now. And they're going to be the first people that I recommend to anybody who needs their services because they're my friends and I want to help them. And I never would have had that connection with them had I not gone to the summit and then reinforced it by going every year and strengthening those relationships.
Exactly.
But you brought up AEPI Nationals, so let's get there. We are not AEPI Nationals. We are a completely separate organization. We have something in common, which is that we're both made up of all AEPI alumni and undergrads, but we are a completely separate entity. So why are we a separate entity, and what is the goal there, right? I mean, I know personally, and I'll answer personally first, just like I'm going for my first time ever as an alumni to convention. I didn't even go as an undergrad. I'm going for the first time this year, and I donate to the AEPI Foundation because of this group. We generate a lot of engagement, and we want to generate a lot of engagement. We are completely aligned with the values and the mission of AEPI, but we are a separate organization. So what do you have to say to that? And what do you have to say to people who might be like, why are you guys charging money for this? Like, why are you guys making a profit? Why aren't you a nonprofit organization? Like, why isn't this being done under the AEPI Foundation? Address that for me a little bit.
Yeah, it's a tricky subject. I mean, I want to start by saying that I've always believed in the mission of AEPI and the foundation, and I have been a volunteer for most of my life for AEPI, and I bleed gold and blue. We're all here because we, at one point or another in our lives, were members of what I consider to be the greatest fraternity on the planet. And, I said a second ago, we were at one time, but I actually don't, I think I spoke incorrectly. It used to say on the blue books when we handed them out, brotherhood for a lifetime. And I truly believe that that's true. I know that there are some people out there who, are in the, quote unquote, fuck national group. And I think that they're short-sighted. And I think that a lot of times that comes because, maybe 20 years ago they didn't get their security deposit back or something superficial like that. But all of us are here because we are members of AEPI. As to why we're not official, I have a great working relationship with AEPI and with AEPI, with the AEPI Foundation. Members of the AEPI Foundation have come every year to the summit. Some years they've supported us with staff. They steward our scholarship fund, which, enables people to get a tax write-off for having donated to the scholarship fund. And it's harder than it sounds to have a formal partnership between what we're doing and what they do. There are insurance concerns, there are legal concerns, but at the end of the day, I feel like what has been created here is important, and my personal feeling is that those legal concerns and insurance concerns shouldn't get in the way of the important things that we're doing here for the summit. As for the profit side, I believe in transparency. Not a lot of profit happening here. Every year I've been at risk completely, and these events, by the way, they're not cheap to put together.
No, and to be clear, the price that we're charging for this conference is our break-even cost. This is what it costs us to bring you there and to throw this conference. We're not making any money on the hotel or on the ticket sales.
That's right. And candidly, just from a business standpoint in general, I think anyone who's a member of this group would understand that when people are putting in time for something, that that there needs to be an accounting for the time that's spent to do those things. And the summit alone, forget about moderating the group. The summit alone is very, very time consuming to put together. And, I don't think that there are too many people in the group who would agree that they want to give away their time and the enormous amount of effort it takes to do something like this, that they would want to do that for free. And yet, for 4 years, now going into our fifth, I have been 100% at risk every year. If it happens the way that I hope it happens, I'm not going to lose my ass. And if nobody shows up, it's a lot of money out of my own pocket. But I do, look, I believe that AEPI, both as an organization and the foundation, are symbiotic with what we do here, and that we're not adversaries. In fact, we are partners.
No, quite the opposite.
Official,
yeah.
Exactly. Whether it's an official partnership or an unofficial partnership or whatever it is, and full disclosure, we do not have a license to use any imagery or name or intellectual property.
Other than the fact that we are AEPI. We are.
Yeah, right. But, whether it's an official capacity or not, it's an important relationship that we all have. And I absolutely love like what you said earlier, Rafi, I love that you donate to the foundation. I think everybody should donate to the foundation. I think they should also be sponsors of what we're doing here and donate to the scholarship fund to help send brothers who can't afford to go. But I think everybody should donate to the foundation.
Speaking of that, what is open for sponsorship here? Why are we reaching out to sponsors, and why do we specifically want brothers as sponsors and their businesses for the conference? What value are they getting, and why should they consider sponsorship?
Yeah, well, the why do we want brother sponsors? We give priority to brother sponsors because it's sort of the whole point of this network in the first place, is to use each other's products and services. What do sponsors get out of it? They get a lot of visibility among brothers, both during the summit and in the network. They get, depending on the level of sponsorship, they get different types of placement on different media that we use. This year we're going to have an app for people to attend the conference, and there will be opportunities for that. They get a chance to help support and make sure that every year that this summit can actually happen, which I got to tell you, if not for our sponsors every year, I'm not sure that this event would have happened every year.
Shout out DropStop.
Yeah, that's right. They are a huge part of why we're able to do what we do. And by the way, from a DropStop perspective, Mark, and Jeff, couldn't thank them enough for the amount of support that they consistently give to this. Not just in money, by the way. They show up. They come every year. They participate. And the amount of support they've given is tremendous. But, it helps make sure the event can happen. It's high visibility for your business or the company you work for. And, really, the numbers are there that you end up getting work or purchases as a result of being so visible in front of this group.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There's really a lot of opportunity for sponsorship here. So you can sponsor different parts of the event. You can potentially act as a speaker if you have specialty and knowledge that you're willing to give as well. There's a lot of opportunity for visibility. We're starting this new podcast, as you all can clearly see. So you want to be the next one on this podcast instead of Loren and getting your message out to everybody. That's another good way to do things. And we will be expanding, and we want to hear from all of you. Even if you're not going to be a sponsor, we want to hear from all of you. What can we do to increase the value to you and to the sponsors? So Loren, let's move on and talk a little bit about, we are a business network and we want to give you an opportunity to do exactly that. So tell me a little bit about what it is you do professionally, your side gigs, and who your referrals are.
Sure. In terms of the side gigs, obviously on the coffee business we mentioned.
Campus Point Coffee.
Campus Point Coffee, yep. I own a Waterproofing manufacturing company. We make a product called drain board, which is a component of waterproofing. It's not in and of itself waterproofing, but if you know people in that world or construction materials distribution companies, hit me up. I co-own with Brett Blumstein, the Hanukkah Superstore. So if you've seen the inflatable dinosaurs and some of our other inflatables and products. Dynica. This year we've got a new robot coming called Dreideltron, which is going to be pretty cool.
Hopefully no shipping issues this year.
Yeah, COVID was absolutely a bitch in that way. I also do consulting. I consult small businesses on growth. It's been my specialty for 25 years. And then I've got a multifamily building down in Arkansas, which Rafi.
We've got a multifamily building
down
in Arkansas.
We've got a multifamily building, yes. Well, obviously the network, right? The greatest thing that everybody could do who's listening is to attend the summit and come, and use your voice in these kind of questions that we have about, how we do better for the future. And, a few other things here or there. I always have.
What about your main job? That's not a side
my
gig.
main job is I work for a company called Rimkus. We're a national engineering firm, started in forensics, but I'm on the side of the house that's a little bit more proactive. So we do due diligence for real estate transactions, property condition assessments, environmental phase 1 and 2, and some other specialized investigations, annual roofing inspections, structural, as well as design. And we have 1,600 engineers globally and 110 offices. So we're a pretty big, decent size outfit. And then I have, I still have a little bit of my foot on the forensics side. So if you're an attorney and you work in the insurance litigation world or construction defect world, also hit me up and let's talk.
Amazing. Anything else you want to add before we finish up here?
Just that I make myself available for lots of conversations from whatever it is people are doing, or if they want to know how they can participate more or how they can get better use or whatever it is. I'm always happy to have those conversations. I probably at least once a day talk to a new brother that I didn't previously know, and keep doing it. Feel free to reach out to me at any time. I'm around, I'm available. And I travel a lot for work, and a lot of times I'll put it out late, but if I have time and I'm in your city, come have dinner with me.
Amazing. Loren, thank you so much. This has been really informative. I can't wait to, first of all, join you again at the summit, but to continue building this network with you. It's really been a joy. It's a lot of work. I have a lot of appreciation for what you've done by yourself for the last 4 years, now that you have this team that I'm a part of, and I really appreciate being a part of it, and I can't wait to see what we do in the future.
Yes, well, thanks, Rafi. I really appreciate you putting this together. I'm excited to be a part of it. Yeah, I'm, golden blue forever.
Thank you, Loren, for sharing your story with us, and thank you again for all you have done and continue to do to make this community what it is. For all those who took the time to listen, thank you for joining us on this very first episode of AEPBN Spotlights. We are excited to keep the conversation going in the weeks ahead as we sit down with each of our board members and sponsors to dive deeper into their roles, their businesses, and the ways they're helping grow and improve the network. If you're interested in taking a more active role in the group or have ideas as to how we can improve, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of the board members. We always love to hear from our brothers. If you're interested in a corporate sponsorship to increase your visibility within the group, both at the summit and throughout the year, please reach out to Loren or to Jeff Sisner. Above all, don't forget to mark your calendars for our 2025 summit, November 14th through 16th at the Park MGM in Las Vegas. Registration is open now at aepbn.com. Finally, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please share this episode with a brother, subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any future episodes, and let us know what topics or brothers you are most interested in hearing from. On behalf of the entire board, I'm Rafi Caroline. Thank you for joining us, and we look forward to continue building this amazing community of brothers together. Until next time.